The title Why School Feels Like a Survival Game isn't just dramatic exaggeration. It's actually weirdly accurate. Your brain, your body, and your stress responses often treat school less like a place of learning and more like a low-stakes version of being hunted for sport. But with math tests and group projects instead of lions, from social pressure to constant evaluation, your nervous system is quietly screaming, "We are not safe," while you're just trying to find a pencil dot. Let's get right into it. Number 10. The never-ending judgment arena. Imagine walking into a room where 20 to 40 people silently evaluate everything you do. How you sit, how you speak, how you exist. Congratulations, that's called Tuesday at school. Your brain is hardwired to care deeply about social approval, because thousands of years ago, getting rejected by your tribe basically meant you were about to become lunch. So now, even though the worst case scenario is someone thinking your presentation was meh, your brain reacts like you've just been exiled into the wilderness. Every time you raise your hand, answer a question, or even just exist slightly differently, your brain runs a full simulation. What if I sound stupid? What if they laugh? What if I spontaneously combust? Okay, maybe not that last one, but emotionally it's close. This is called social evaluative threat, and it triggers the same stress systems as physical danger. Your heart rate spikes, your palms sweat, and suddenly remembering basic facts becomes as difficult as assembling IKEA furniture. Without instructions, basically, your brain treats participation like a high-stakes gladiator match, except instead of swords, you're armed with half-remembered notes and pure anxiety. Number 9. The boss fight called tests. You know that feeling when a test lands on your desk and your brain immediately deletes everything it learned over the past week. That's not you being dumb. That's your survival system hijacking the controls. Tests simulate something your brain interprets as a performance under threat. And when that happens, your body releases stress hormones like cortisol, which are great if you're running from a bear, but terrible if you're trying to. Remember the quadratic formula. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for thinking, reasoning, and not panicking like a raccoon in a trash can, basically gets shoved aside, while your survival brain takes over. So instead of calmly recalling information, your thoughts go, okay, I studied this. I definitely knew this. Wait, what is my name again? This is why you sometimes remember everything after the test like your brain is mocking you. It's not personal, it's just that your nervous system decided. Survival algebra. In other words, tests are less about what you know and more about whether your brain decides to cooperate, which, spoiler, it often doesn't. Number 8. The energy drain. Marathon school isn't just mentally tiring, it's biologically exhausting in a very specific way. Your brain runs on energy like a phone, with 47 apps open, and school is basically forcing all of them to run at once. You're focusing, memorizing, suppressing boredom, navigating social dynamics, and trying not to look like you forgot how chairs work. That's a lot. Cognitive load builds up throughout the day, and your brain doesn't get proper recovery time between classes. So, by the time you hit your third or fourth lesson, your brain is like, cool, we are done. I will now enter low power mode. This is why you stare at the board and absorb absolutely nothing. Even though you are technically awake, your brain isn't broken. It's conserving energy like a survival mechanism, because from a biological perspective, constant effort without rest equals danger. So your brain starts zoning out, daydreaming, or thinking about what you'll eat later. Anything to reduce effort. It's not laziness. It's your brain trying to not burn itself out. Like an overworked CPU, basically. School turns your brain into a marathon runner, but forgets to provide water stations. Number 7. The social ranking system. Somewhere deep in your brain is a tiny, overly dramatic manager whose only job is to track your status compared to everyone else. And school, that's its favorite reality show. Who's smarter, funnier, more popular, less awkward, slightly less likely to trip over nothing in the hallway. Your brain is constantly collecting this data, like it's preparing a full documentary on your social worth. This comes from ancient survival wiring. Back in the day, your position in the group determined whether you got resources, protection, or politely ignored. while a tiger made decisions about your future. So now, even though nobody's actually fighting for survival, your brain still treats things like grades, attention, and friendships as status signals. That's why getting a bad grade can feel weirdly personal. It's not just I didn't do well. Your brain translates it to I am now lower in the human hierarchy. Please panic, and don't even get started on group work. Suddenly, it's not just about completing a task, it's a subtle negotiation of competence, dominance, and who gets stuck doing everything, while one guy contributes moral support. Basically, school turns your brain into a social stock market, and it checks the numbers way often. Number 6. The illusion of constant danger. Imagine sitting perfectly still at your desk, while your body reacts like something terrible is about to happen. That's because your brain doesn't just respond to physical threats, it responds to uncertainty, and school is packed with it. Pop quizzes, being called on randomly, that one teacher who says I'll wait, like they're auditioning for a villain role. Your brain hates not knowing what's coming, so it prepares for the worst just in case. This triggers a low-level constant stress response, not enough to make you run out of the classroom, screaming, but enough to keep your nervous system slightly on edge. All day. It's like your body is stuck in something might go wrong mode. And here's the fun part. Your brain would rather assume danger than risk being unprepared, because evolution basically said, better anxious than eaten. So even when nothing bad is happening, your body stays alert, tense, and mildly suspicious of everything, including worksheets. In other words, your nervous system is treating school like a suspense movie where the plot twist is usually just homework. Number 5. The time control trap. Ever notice how time at school moves in a completely different dimension? 5 minutes at home gone instantly. 0.5 minutes in class. Long enough to question reality, existence, and whether clocks are just lying to you out of spite. This happens because your brain experiences time based on engagement. When something is interesting, your brain processes less waiting, so time feels fast. When you're bored, your brain checks the clock every 3 seconds, like it's emotionally invested. School often forces you into tasks you didn't choose, at a pace you didn't set, for reasons that feel questionable. That lack of control is key. Humans are wired to dislike situations where they have no control over time or outcomes. It makes your brain feel trapped, which, surprise, activates mild survival stress again. So now you're not just bored, you're trapped and bored, which is somehow worse. Your brain starts searching for escape routes, daydreaming, doodling, staring into the void, like you've unlocked a new level of consciousness. Basically, your brain isn't trying to rebel, it's just trying to feel like it has some control, even if that control is imagining you're somewhere else entirely. Number 4. The forced attention experiment. Imagine being told to focus for hours on things you didn't choose at a time your brain didn't agree to. That's not just inconvenient, that's neurologically rude. Your brain has an attention system that works best when it's curious, interested, or at least mildly entertained. But school often overrides that and says no. You will now care deeply about this specific topic at 8 a.m. And your brain goes absolutely not. So what happens? It starts drifting, not because you're lazy, but because attention is expensive. It burns energy, and your brain only wants to spend that energy when it thinks it's worth it. When it's not, your brain quietly opens 37 mental tabs. What's for lunch? Why do we exist? Could I survive in the wild with 0 skills? This is called attentional fatigue, and it's your brain's way of saying, we are done pretending to care. But here's the twist. The more you force attention, the more your brain resists. It's like trying to fall asleep by aggressively yelling, "Sleep now." Basically, your brain treats forced focus like a bad boss, technically in charge, but not getting your best work. Number 3. Venus might not be dead. Venus is what happens when a planet takes greenhouse effect personally and refuses to calm down. It's hot enough to melt lead. The pressure could crush you instantly, and the atmosphere is basically acid soup. So naturally scientists assumed, Nothing's living there then in 2020. Researchers detected phosphine gas in Venus' atmosphere. Phosphine is interesting because on Earth, it's mostly produced by microbial life, specifically, life that thrives in low-oxygen environments. Not exactly a casual hobby. Now, could there be non-biological ways to produce phosphine? Possibly. Scientists have been debating it ever since. But here's the problem. None of the known chemical processes on Venus seem capable of producing the amount detected. As of now, we have a planet that should be completely uninhabitable, showing a potential signature of life. Some scientists suggest that if life exists there, it wouldn't be on the surface. It might be floating in the upper atmosphere, where conditions are less apocalyptic, like tiny, airborne microbes just drifting around in acid clouds, completely unbothered. Meanwhile, you complain when it's slightly humid outside. Venus went from definitely dead to okay, but what if it's not? In one discovery, and honestly, that's a little unsettling. Number 2. The comparison machine. Your brain doesn't evaluate things in isolation. It compares constantly, relentlessly, like a judge that never takes a lunch break. At school, this goes into overdrive grades. Speed answers, confidence levels. Your brain is scanning everyone else, like they finished faster, they sound smarter, they didn't just forget how numbers work. This is called social comparison theory, and it's baked into how humans understand themselves. But here's the problem. Your brain almost always compares your inside to everyone else's outside. So while you're aware of your confusion, you doubt your internal chaos. Everyone else just looks calm and competent, which is a lie, by the way. They're also confused, just quieter about it, but your brain doesn't know that. It just goes, clearly we are the weakest link. Initiate panic. This creates unnecessary stress, lowers confidence, and makes everything feel harder than it actually is. Basically, your brain is running a competition that nobody signed up for, and then getting upset about the results. Number 1. The survival mode switch. Here is the big one. When you combine social pressure, constant evaluation, lack of control, comparison, and unpredictability, your brain quietly flips into low-level survival mode. Not full panic, not screaming chaos, just a steady hum of stay alert, don't mess up, be acceptable. Your nervous system stays slightly activated all day. Your body's a bit tense, your thoughts are a bit faster, your energy drains quicker. And because it's subtle, you don't always notice it. You just feel tired, stressed, or weirdly on edge for no clear reason. That's because your brain isn't treating school like a neutral environment. It's treating it like something you have to get through safely. S0 by the end of the day. Even if nothing dramatic happened, your system feels. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.